I didn't. With the 6 o'clock heavy industrial development ordinance meeting. We have a couple board members that couldn't be here tonight. But for those who are here, we can get started. Y'all have in your packets, the planning board packets, the actual text amendments that are being proposed. I don't know where you want to start, but we can start with those. Of the text minutes?
Yes.
Yeah. Old school. Man. All right, so the three things that I got out of the last week's meeting was we were working on the land spacing, we're looking on the waiver language and sawmills. So those are the things I included in the packet for this week.
Sure, 58, 59, and 60. Comfortably situated in the middle of the package.
Mm-hmm.
Right after 147.
Well, whole ordinance is getting to be almost 300 pages. So I really think I wanted all that.
And we thank you.
Yeah. He's got them up on the screen for you now. Which one do you have up now, Reed?
This is, I believe, so
That's
this is,
mobile home stuff.
yes,
So keep going.
Yeah, page
3 or 4 more
58
pages.
is where
There we
we
go.
are.
that's 121.
6.5.3.
Yeah, 6.5, went too far.
He's worked through all these stuff that was in the front.
Yeah. that's-
There you
we
go. We're not
Okay, I
in
see what you-
numerical
okay, I
order.
see what you got.
We're in agenda order.
So we're talking now, 2,000 feet with a variance, 1,500 feet without a variance.
Right, so in general, a variance can be requested in this ordinance period. There's language in the UDO, so the waiver language it's fine to put in that section. It is a little bit of a duplication because that is already being taken care of in the whole conglomerate of the UDO, which is different when we had those individual ordinances. We had to speak individually to them, but this one we do not.
So the UDO has a variance language in it. People can request that. So when we were talking last week, whatever we were going to end up with the land spacing, I think at the end of the meeting, kind of settled on a 2,000 with a spacing waiver type thing, or land spacing waiver, how you put it there. One thing I saw, I was trying to send to you earlier was this waiver would be for the class 3, but maybe it really kind of goes for all the classes, is what you're saying? Because all it
Yes,
really
and in
has-
talking to legal, it could be a legal concern if we only called out class 3 to be able to do it. And like I said, the ordinance already calls for variances, so it really would be viable for either. Any of those.
So when we were talking last week about adding some of the like 2011, to give it more of a flexibility. So are you saying that the variance process that's already in the UDO already gives it some flexibility, or would this give it another layer of flexibility to work just within 6.5?
You know, it really is a little bit of duplication. It can make people feel better that they specifically see this language. That's fine to do. But it is kind of tucked in the whole conglomerate ordinance.
So when we look at the duplication, the redundancy, and the potential for a lawsuit for having this only with the class 3s, are we better to just let the variance policy that we have in it stand for what it is?
That would be fine. This language is exactly what the variance language is anyway, the hardship part, all that, that's state law. That's where that language comes from. So it truly is a duplication. But
Okay, so to be a good neighbor about it, why don't we decide whether we're gonna go 1,500 feet or 2,000 feet? And where we've got a bullet land space waiver, just put in there C variance. And just refer them to that, since they're virtually the same thing. What's the consensus on that?
This is the consensus, apparently, me and you. Let me look up.
Okay.
and of course, whatever y'all decide here, we're gonna take to the 7 o'clock meeting.
Well,
So
of course.
you'll get a bigger consensus that way.
And that's gonna go then to the commission for them to make a decision on one way or the other.
Yes, they're expecting to do that in April before the moratorium expires.
What is the variance section? Is that,
It speaks to it in 3.1, I believe it is, under the quasi judicial, it speaks to variances. It's vague enough, but it refers back to state law. I think Ben did that on purpose, just in case state law changed, we wouldn't have to change all of the language in ordinance. 160D 406.
3.4 quasi-judicial
Mhm.
judicial procedures. Okay. Shall follow procedures at home. Petition the board for a hearing only as allowed by the standard, turn up the law, in the application. All right, so what prompts this? 3.4.
So state law allows variances. If you had like classification or zoning, you can't get a variance on use, but you can get a variance on the other types of things, setbacks, building footprints, blah, blah, blah. You know how the ordinance is used, but you strictly can't get a variance on use.
Yeah, just come through here. So Article 3, administrative procedures, and you go into 3.1, general standards, and site plans and stuff like that. Board review and recommendations. Planning board, historic properties, board of justice, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I guess I'm just not seeing. So where's their relief in here then? If they wanted to, say we have the 2000, they want 1800. So is there a section that says this is what we do to ask for that?
I don't think that's the way Ben wrote it. Ben wrote it as his quasi judicial procedure and included the things that would be quasi judicial, which would include the variance, because state law already enables that.
Okay, all right.
Now, if there's some level, we can refer them back to section 3.4 in the land use spacing.
Certificates of variances.
Mhm.
So, we know, I think so. We they've got the other partners that are showing up here.
I think that we need to have some type of relief in place. Because not every round peg will fit in a square hole. So but there needs to be something there. Now, it doesn't need to be carte blanche, just come over here. But there will be something, and if that's
Can you pull
right here does it,
I think it's
there's
on
no
the
point
bill.
in putting it in there twice.
Correct. He's gonna pull up a section we already kind of talked about that variance piece, and we could probably use a little bit of that if y'all want to actually put some language in there to be very clearly say that.
So you have that, see, that's in 6.13. So that's the new section there for what, the whole parts or?
No,
Or
that
your
one is automobile graveyard.
Oh, right. You see how you have that as an actual variance procedure in that section?
6.13.4, is that right?
0.7.
Yeah, I could look that later. So we could put that language in there to say this is, in essence, the way that we wrote the waiver, the language is the same because it all follows that same state guidelines. But we could put that exact language in there if we want to do that.
Yeah, that's probably, that language there is a little clearer
Okay.
From what I was reading through just a bit. Of course, this says about required screening, but you can put in there whatever you're going to want, but the land spacing or don't tie it down to one particular thing like screening.
Yeah, because the state law wouldn't have them do that.
Right. So that's some language that appears to be clearer to me.
Can you crop that and throw that into something that we can pull for planning board?
Yeah, sure.
Just something I'd like for planning board to look at tonight in that spacing waiver language,
And to replace this.
the proposed language.
That's it.
Okay.
They all serve the same purpose, so whichever way written is the best. That's what we're doing.
Because I mean, look, you know, you can have a rule, but all conditions are different. I mean, every condition you run up to, so that flexibility is, I think, is only right today. Have that flexibility.
Well, okay, so we've had a lot of conversations about we prefer natural vegetative buffers versus planted berms or whatever. Okay, so
If you
we've got,
can, if you can, right.
Yeah.
we've got a small operation going on here. And if you pull straight string lines, we got 49 feet and 8 inches of natural thicket, we're gonna call it. So are we gonna give that guy a variance on them last 4 inches of his vegetative buffer and leave it natural? Or are we gonna fix it so he's gonna have to go in there and clear a portion of that existing natural buffer so that he's got a place to plant what we want him to have to be in compliance? This is the kind of thing
Right.
that I believe
That's would make sense to take
Yeah.
down this,
that's
and plant
correct.
some other stuff that might be not even compatible with the area.
Correct.
Absolutely, we always want that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that
And
kind of
if the
flexibility.
rule is 50 feet, then 49 feet and 8 inches is out of compliance. But it's better than have it go in there and clear and start over.
100% agree.
Okay.
Common sense.
Sometimes that's a common.
Yes, sir. All right, so the land spacing waiver, that language is really gonna come out. We're gonna introduce this variance procedure from the graveyard. Yeah, from the graveyard, right? Pull it out of the graveyard, put it in there. All right, and then what are we staying with the 2,000 at that point? What are we doing?
With the waiver, y'all were feeling good about 1,500, right?
Well, conversation we had earlier was with the waiver, 2,000, without the waiver, 1,500. I'm fine with 1,500 without it, but I mean, we had a consensus from other people that aren't here right now.
Well, two of the other members did express where could we go between 1,200 and 2,000, and everybody found a happy medium. I think our board of commissioners would like the planning board to come out for unanimous vote on this.
Right.
So if we feel like the other members and you all could say 1,500 and be very comfortable with that, I think that'd be a good idea.
Since there's already a variance in it, we're gonna have something either way. And, you know, I don't feel like we need to log jam the works over 500 feet.
Yeah. It's pretty, it's a large land space.
I will say I did get to have a conversation with the school administrators at Highland. You know, we talked about it a little bit last time. She says that she's only been there 8 years. School was open, I think, in 07 or 08 is when they opened that one. And that there are times, only once in the 8 years she's been there, there was a large dust plume that came out and children were out on the playground and things and brought them in. There are cracks in their building. They can't say that's not from true settlement or is it from the rock quarry. There was no, she did not go on record saying either way. They have had replaced their dangling lights because they've had some shake and fall. So they've got flushed out. They also said from wear and tear over the years, it's time to replace them anyway. But in general, they have a great relationship with the quarry. They actually do field trips over there and quarry people come over and help them with their beautification days. So they are not bad neighbors to them. There are a few things that they notice here and there. And sometimes they'll come out and have more dust on their car than when they parked it. But that's all that she would really say that they feel out there. And she says the building shakes sometimes when they do blast. They no longer ask the quarry when they're doing the blast because it's kind of ordinary for them now. And it doesn't shake so hard that it disturbs anything or not see anything now, but they're like, oh, they're blasting today, and just keep moving. And kids do too. So. But that's kind of, we wanted that information.
So there's impact that may be minimal or whatever.
From what they're saying.
Yeah, and that particular group has a good relationship with his members. Apparently.
That's great.
That's
And
right.
they're-
And that's all that anybody would ask for any entity to come in and have a community involvement, great relationship, you know, not not be a thorn or a pain, but
And yeah, and depending on where their pit is, because they have a very large site and they've used up some of their site already over the years, but depending on where their pit is, the school is 1,300 to 1,700 feet from where their pit, not from the property line. But so if you're doing 1,500 feet, you're kind of in the middle.
yeah, 'cause we're on property line, so.
Right. So your distance from property line is somewhat equivalent to from their pit to the school.
I'm okay with all that. You okay with all that?
All right, well, then the last thing we have was sawmill.
Before we-
Oh, go ahead.
Now, conversations with Natalia, and she's okay going this direction.
Yes, and she'll be here for the 7 o'clock, but I wouldn't be here talking to you about it if we hadn't already talked about it. So legal is comfortable with that. The last thing y'all have is the sawmills. I went in and changed 10 acres or less are excluded from the definition. Let's say temporary or portable sawmills, 10 acres or less are excluded from the definition.
Probably the only thing when I was reading through there that I saw, I said, temporary or portable. Kind of went through that now. It seems like I thought language somewhere that temporary and portable is already there. So,
Well, I know we talked about without permanent structures. I didn't
yeah,
really care anything about those words, so I did scratch those.
right, scratch that. So
Mhm.
is it, this says temporary or portable sawmills, 10 acres or less are excluded.
Mhm.
Should it just say sawmills, 10 acres or less?
Was that y'all's intent?
What do you think? When I saw that, it just said, still said temporary.
I think this is one of them places where you don't put enough words in there, it's gonna be a problem. Too many words in there and try to make the problem, it's gonna be a problem. But at the end of the day, the intent is you've got to have more than 10 acres for your sawmill operation for it to be a sawmill by definition of this ordinance, and thusly then be a class 3 industry.
So the temporary or portable is not really interest sawmills in general, is what you're talking about.
Correct.
Okay, so we can scratch that too then, if that's what y'all's intent is.
But you could certainly understand how if Bill buys it a porta van and I have him come over to the house and he sets it up back there in the field and saws me some lumber out.
Mhm.
And the wrong neighbor comes by, like, calls you and says, Rodney's running the sawmill, Bill's helping him. So to put portable and temporary and all like that right there is not wrong in my opinion. Because he's gonna be there for about 3 hours and he's gonna hook it to the truck and take it somewhere else. It's all over. Probably going down to Mike's, so.
So leave it.
So I get to make a call. We'd be fair.
Oh, okay.
All right, so.
Sounds like Bill gets bad in.
So you're saying leaving that language is,
I don't think it's wrong. If it's temporary, if it's portable, if it's 10 acres or less,
all right,
it's
so maybe,
exempt.
all right, so maybe we need to have, instead of or, maybe there needs to be some commas.
Or and.
Well, temporary comma, portable comma. Maybe the or comes between portable and saw. I don't know. It's just, it reads a little squirrely to me, but that only thing that we can have is sawmills, and then if it's temporary, then it's less than 10 acres. It just kind of reads a little weird to me there.
Well, you wouldn't have a permanent one on less than 10 acres, would you?
I mean, you could build a pole barn, just like, good, yeah.
So I'm thinking a camp for, I'm
That
thinking
guy's
a much bigger
small.
facility, I guess.
He just makes firewood, but
You talking about down to my road?
yeah, down there,
Yeah,
you read.
yeah, that's all he's doing.
He's
He's
just doing
splitting
firewood.
wood. He don't even have to saw there. I mean, he may have a cutoff saw, but I think all he does is
He's
split.
not really sawing.
What do you think about this, that last sentence? temporary, comma, portable, and located on 10 acres or less are excluded from this definition.
I think you got it. Temporary comma, portable comma, and on 10 acres.
Did you get a? Scratch that out.
Let's,
So we get this
let,
ready.
let legalese say whether it needs to say and are located on 10 acres or less, or whatever.
I'll look at for the next meeting. We'll have to drop you a new document.
I think that reads properly.
All right.
Since ain't just a few of us here, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. It's sad that the county spends the amount of money it spends on legal. And we got to have a group of volunteer nuts come in here and work the words out so that people understand what we're trying to say.
See, I'm sure this was pulled from some book that our industrial book that legal is allowed to use. So when it gets to court, it says what it needs to say. I'm just pretty sure that's probably where Ben pulled it from when we were writing the story.
Translation. More important to be right in court than for folks to know what's going on.
Field sport, yeah.
Well, that was the 3 areas that we really had to talk about as far as the Class 3 stuff. Right?
So are y'all adjourned until?
I don't know. Kind of tighten that up. Good. And you'll have something to present for the planning board, right?
Mhm.
That's it.
All right, well, then we'll adjourn this one. We'll
Where's
come
the party at? I mean, with the chips, that's the quickest thing.